to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I didn't need anything.
Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Keep in mind, we have an
Oh,
addenda
sorry.
at the table for you, okay, so we have an addition G2.
Okay, motion
Okay.
to include the agenda, which is G2. Someone's going to be at that second motion?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Yeah. Move on with the meeting.
Okay. What we wanted to do is provide the Board of Education an opportunity to hear from Greg Davis this evening on our academic performance. I think, you know, before, when the assessments were provided earlier in the year, we typically had a report card that was given at this time of the year and a presentation was made. Because of the change of dates with assessments, report cards are no longer coming out, but I think it's good to kind of give an annual report at the end of the year, the performance we've had over the course of a few years. And Mr. Davis has prepared a presentation this evening for you that will go through particularly high school data and give you an idea of where we've progressed over the last couple of years. So Greg, I'll turn it over to you.
Couldn't get away without one more data presentation before I go.
Well, who said it's only going to be one, Greg?
Not that I'm counting. I think there's one coming around. Some of this data you will have seen already, but it's not a bad thing to come back and look again.
Did you guys get it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Just a reminder that our vision statement, I did take the liberty to highlight a couple of words, high standards and maximum potential. You know, after all that's said and done with everything that we're doing, the bottom line is we're here for kids and we want them to be as successful as we can make them. That has been somewhat of a challenge the last few years fiscally, but we're doing our best. However, we'll go on to the data.
You're getting extra colorful though.
It's the musician in me. This is just some district demographics over the last 5 years. You can see that since '07 we've declined a couple hundred students. The number of students receiving free and reduced lunch has gone up slightly. We've been fairly consistent, but you can almost see when the recession hit. We saw a big upturn in applications for free and reduced lunch. The biggest change we saw was at Charlotte Avenue that year. They had never been a title school until '09-10, and they have been for the last 3 years. In order to be a title school, you have to meet the district average for poverty or above, and Charlotte was always underneath the district average. The only one that's ironically below that is the high school, which you can see that we're not a very racially diverse district. We're almost evenly split between males and females. Our special ed numbers have gone down somewhat, and our ESL is English as a second language students has remained fairly constant over the last 5 years.
Greg, is the reason that the percent free lunch isn't the same at the high schools because kids don't want to apply for it?
I believe that to be the case. Since they're a cross-section of the whole district, they should be. The middle school is.
Yeah.
I think if we can get to put in that card swipe system, I believe that will help. It takes,
But that's our specific way of measuring poverty. It has to be
Yes.
the school lunches.
yes. We've looked at these before. This is a general population. You can see that We have a 94.5% passing rate on all of our Regents exams. Most of them are 90 or higher, which is very good. The other thing that we're seeing is the distinction rate. Students scoring above an 85, that's going up. The state has now added a new piece to super proficient, starting at 75. It's not used for accountability yet, but it's another number that they do publish now in their school report card, is how many students are scoring above 75%. It's that whole college and career ready. To go along with this is how our special education students are doing. I'd say they're doing quite well, especially in English and math. 90, 100% in Algebra 2 trig. Now, of course, there's only 6 kids taking that. But integrated algebra, we're at 79%. U.S. history at 85. Global history, that's a 2-year course. Sometimes that's a little bit more difficult for students, but that's one of the things that we're looking at as far as the data. But these low numbers, remember, especially when we're getting into the single digits, one student makes a huge difference in percentage. But I'd say we can be proud of what our kids are doing. Cohort results. Now, this is what the state uses as far as our accountability goes. And a cohort is a group of students. We're looking at high school data right now. So students enter a cohort by the date they enter 9th grade. So when the kids are registered, when they go to the high school for 9th grade, no matter what school they're in the state, there's a date that goes in there. And that's how the state count how well we're doing as a school. It does not look at seniors, it does not look at juniors, it looks at what year they entered 9th grade. So, as an example, last year's graduating group was primarily the 2007 cohort. This year's is primarily the 2008 cohort for accountability purposes. That's if students are graduating within 4 years, and as we get into this process, I'll further explain that. There's other cohorts for grades 3 through 8 for the other state testing. Up until mid-year last year, to be a member of the Hamburg cohort, you had to be registered in the district for at least 5 months. And the feds came down last year and said, 1 day. If they move in the day before the Regents exam, we're accountable for
And
that.
not the Regents exam in 9th grade.
In any grade.
In any grade.
In any grade. When they enter 9th grade, it will determine which cohort they're in. But, so, 5 months I thought was a little short to try and, because, you know, if you have a student moving, especially from Buffalo out to Hamburg, to the suburbs, there's a huge difference in how well the kids are doing in a lot of them. Usually in Buffalo, it takes us longer than that to get the records. Now this is, I would explain, this is different than graduating seniors, which may be multiple cohorts depending on how many years it takes to graduate. Students can stay in this public school until they're 21. So if we look at last year's cohort, this is 2007, that means they entered 9th grade in September 1st, 2007. Number of graduates as a 4-year outcome. This is as of June, after 4 years since they entered 9th grade. We were at 89% graduation rate. For our gen ed kids, it was 94. For our special ed kids, it was 58. And watch that number, because that's a significant number as we go through this.
And that is a 58% Regents diploma.
That's 50, yes,
For the special ed, that's what that means. It has to be
Correct.
Regents diploma.
yes. Regents are local diploma, they don't count an IEP diploma as graduating. Which I won't get onto my soapbox about that. But this is the piece that will play out as we go through this. Now Now, looking at the same cohort just for the high school, after a 4-year outcome in June, we have 91%, 95% for gen ed, 63% for special ed. Advanced designation, these percentages, the number of kids, that's the number of this 270, the percentage of these 270 that received a Regents diploma and received a Regents diploma with advanced designation. It is not the percent of the number of students in the cohort. That's different than this number.
Greg, what would be an example of the advanced designation?
If you take more sequences for Regents exams, you score above an 85 on your Regents exams. It's going above the proficient level. As we look at the 4-year outcome for the same group of students, giving them till August, which typically that gives them a second chance to take the Regents exam. We're still fairly close with all students, but we now see we've jumped 4% with our special ed students by giving them a second chance in August. Also, our Regents diploma for special education students increases as well. Looking at just Hamburg High School, we've now jumped to 93% by allowing that extra 2 months. They typically take Regents review classes and take the Regents exam once again. Now we're at 99% receiving a Regents diploma from gen ed and 65 in.
Craig, please explain the difference between district cohort and Hamburg High School.
The district cohort is every student that's in that cohort that's registered as a Hamburg student. That includes Hamburg High School and all of our out-of-district placements. Some kids might be at Near One Bosse's class, they might be at the Stanley Falk School, they might be at Baker Victory School, all the out-of-district placements. Hamburg High School is strictly the kids that go to our building on Legion Drive, which takes basically a special ed population out of the numbers.
Not the complete special ed.
No,
but some
just
of
the ones that are in out-of-district placements. And I don't have a 5-year outcome for the 2007 cohort because they haven't had their 5th year yet, or completed it yet. So this is a different set of kids who entered 9th grade a year earlier, but had a 5th year to graduate. Now, if you remember that 57.8% for special ed in June of 4 years versus giving them that 5th year. Now we're up to 83%.
So, if this represents a special ed person who completes 4 years, they may or may not have gone to summer school, and they come back in the 5th year to take some classes again,
Or they
or they couldn't
reduced
take
load.
before.
Right, or they took a reduced load and
The
to
plan
help
at the
them
beginning
through.
could have been that this is gonna be a 5-year program for you, or a 6-year program, or the kids,
What about a student that got sick for from September to November and had a,
they would still be in this cohort.
okay. Okay.
So, the unfortunate part of this is, while this is good data for us, it's not really published. It doesn't come out on a school report card. It does in the comprehensive report now, but it doesn't go into business first and all those things.
what happens with exchange students? Do they get worked into this at all?
No.
No.
They have a whole different registration process. But giving that 5th year, and a lot of kids do this in college now, but I know when I was in college, the expectation was you finish in 4 years. Now a lot of kids are taking the 5th year for multiple reasons. Same thing with our high school kids, and I think it's a good thing. If you look at just Hamburg High School alone, we've now jumped our graduates to 93%. Gen Ed is equal to that, and our special ed is at 90%, giving them a 5th year.
Wow.
which sometimes we don't see that we're still helping our kids. There's a lot of confusion between a dropout and a non-completer. When you look at the school report card, it has a section called non-completers. But they may be a non-completer because they're still enrolled. So sometimes the numbers are misleading.
What happens with kids from Hamburg who drop out and get a GED? Is there a way that they can come back to Hamburg and get a Hamburg diploma, or they just have their GED diploma?
They just have their GED. The problem, we can.
Because some school districts have an arrangement by which you can get your GED and come back and get your high school diploma. But that's not something we offer.
It's not, and they have to be in a state-approved GED program, and they have to get the GED, and they have to report it back that they got a GED to be included in any numbers. And typically, if they dropped out, they don't typically call the school back and tell them what happened. The state's working on some of that accountability and getting those numbers back, but it's very difficult. But I guess as we go through all of this, since it's my last time, Hamburg has struggled with money for as long as I can remember, and probably the last 5 years have been the worst. But because we have good teachers and we have good people that are dedicated to kids, despite the fact that we keep tightening our belt a little farther and a little farther, we can still achieve these kinds of results. And I think that's a tribute to our staff and our kids and our parents. It's a commitment to everybody. And even so they feel comfortable enough to stay this extra year. And looking at 6-year outcome, which is the next one, that the state is not in my presentation. There's not a real change between the 5th year and the 6th year, maybe a tenth of a point. It's really that 5th year that's critical. Our AP results, and we've gone over this. This is the last 2 years. This column is the number of students taking the AP exam, which I believe they're taking this week at Briarwood. We scored a 4 or 5. This is the percentage of students who scored a 3, 4, or 5. Some schools accept a 3, 4, or 5 for college credit. Some schools only accept 4s and 5s. The grant that I wrote that we didn't get tried to replicate some of the successes we've had so much with calculus, and to compensate teachers for the commitment that goes into the calculus AP courses and the whole summer piece and the before school piece and so forth. I knew it was a long shot, but I was kind of excited that might come through for us. But I think we're looking at the replication of that and moving. This is one of the school improvement things with the high school, is to move more kids from here to here. But we do encourage kids to challenge themselves at our high school. A lot of kids to participate and at least try it, rather than limiting the enrollment for only kids we think will surely be successful on the exam. It just continues the presentation, but I think we'd like to get all of these to the point where our Regents exams are. Okay, here's my soapbox a little bit. Here's the job that you have and we have as a district, is trying to balance the programs we offer with the money we receive. And we must remember that it's the kids that come in the middle. And that's the most difficult balancing act that we have as we go through this process.
Finally get to use your blocks.
I get to use my blocks. The only blocks I had were at my grandparents' house. We've talked about this before in some of the budget presentations, that we're looking at a culture of high expectations and excellence. We want to maintain that, even though we're struggling with with state aid and some of the losses in revenue, we have a staff that really is committed to kids, and we see that every day. I see that every day. I've been here a long time, and I know how much the teachers care about what they're trying to do. We have a pride in Hamburg. I always said Hamburg is more of a small town than a suburb. I grew up in the north towns, and it's a different feel. Of course, in those days, Clarence was farmland, and Spalding Lake was the quarry. But we've got support from our alumni, our foundation, and we look at what we can do for kids first. I think offering the programs, and one thing I would like to say after all of us have gone through this whole budget process, that though we have reduced the budget, we haven't cut any programs. We keep looking at ways that if there is a program cut, there's some alternative ways to solving it. Even down to the athletics, finding another avenue so we aren't telling kids there's something that's not available to them anymore. I'm not sure how many more years we can do that, because I don't see how we can be stretched any further than we are right now. But, again, that's the commitment of everybody in the district. We still offer the continuum of services for our special ed students. We try and get as much funding as we can to bring it down. We'll be starting to write the Title VI grants here. They're due by the end of June, which is always difficult, but what we've done is kind of shifted things to keep teachers in the classroom, because if there's no one teaching the kid, it doesn't really matter what the facilities are and the materials are. So that's what we've done with all of the federal grants. This is hot off the press today. Hamburg Central ranks 4th lowest in expenditures per student out of 98 Western New York school districts. Yet we still have the scores that we have. And I not only will put up our scores on state tests against the north towns, I put up our art program, our phys ed program, our sports program, our music program. You know, what they do at the high school is just amazing. There's some of the, if not the best, music teachers in the state. We're 11th out of 24 suburban districts in students per administrator, 171 per administrator. And with the reform agenda, that's getting difficult. And 5th in our suburban districts in students per teacher. And I think that is the key to the success of every slide before this. Is to keep our programs focused on kids and how well they can do, and having our parents involved in our kids' education. That's the most important piece, is working together. So everyone should pat themselves on the back. And it's getting harder. I have a neighbor who teaches high school math in Belton, where I live, and he says he wants to ask me some questions, but he's gonna wait till I retire before he asks me that, so it has me a little disconcerted about what it is. So if you would like more information, though we don't call ourselves information services anymore, we still provide the service. Any data that you would like, please let me know. Questions?
That's good.
They're gonna ask you if you wanna work for them. That's what they're.
No, I don't think so. He only sees me in my jeans and my cowboy hat.
Last thing, that's what you got.
Barb, you know, I don't have to go over Mr. Davis,
Barb to go with the tax.
I don't know that it's us, we should be patting on the backs, but I think, you know, the teachers and the salaries and the half-step, you know, wage really, I mean, they're
We're here for kids.
the ones.
Absolutely.
So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Steve, what do you have in the way of department building reports from you?
No reports tonight.
No reports? Okay, people wishing to address the board. We have two people who signed in to address the board tonight. Holly Wortell wants to address the issue of budget and support, and then Martha Kavanaugh wants to address the issue of FOIL and the agenda. Holly, go ahead.
Good evening, I'm Holly Bortel. I'm a special education teacher at the middle school, and I'm also a resident of Orchard Park, but Hamburg School District. I'm here on behalf of the Teachers Union Political Action Committee. Our committee supports the budget. As you know, teachers did take wage concessions, and we want you to know that we know you worked hard to reach a budget that would keep programs intact as much as possible, and hopefully with the kinds of things teachers have done and you have done, hopefully we'll save as many teaching positions as possible. To that end, our union made cards and sent them to all registered voters. You won't get one in the mail if you live here because we're cheap and we only put stamps on ones we knew the people wouldn't receive in person. But I wanted you to have them. As you can see, they're colorful and wonderful, and definitely
Nice.
the teachers union is behind the budget. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Holly.
Thank you very much, Holly.
Thank you.
We then have Martha, who was hoping to address us also.
Hello, my name's Martha Kavanaugh. I am a middle school teacher, and I would like to address the Board of Education regarding Freedom of Information Law. And I would like to advise the Board of Education that failure to comply appropriately with Freedom of Information Law will expose the district to further Article 78 proceedings. The Public Officers Law is readily available on the internet, and the Committee on Open Government in Albany is readily available for any kind of ad hoc advice with respect to complying with Freedom of Information laws. Any failure to comply adequately with Freedom of Information laws does, as I said, expose the district to proceedings under New York State Supreme Court, Article 78. I would also like to ask the board, or comment on the board, under the action items H6. Resolution to indemnify and provide legal counsel. It's my expectation of public bodies that they would have these types of discussions in public, and I look with anticipation to this kind of discussion taking place tonight. A third item that I'd like to add with respect to Mr. Davis's presentation with respect to cohort days, being students who are within our district for one day are counted as one of our kids. And it's my recollection that, coming to board meetings now for almost 4 years, that our cohorts that move in and out of our district within one day are very small. We have very few students who come in and out of our district the day before the U.S. history exam or the mathematics exam. And while that may be a shocking statistic, I don't think it applies to Hamburg. And furthermore, with respect to the results that were published on the overhead regarding advanced placement courses, there are certain academic subject areas in this district that are tracked. For example, mathematics, where students may start as low as 6th grade going on a high school track mathematics course, even taking algebra, let's say, in 8th grade, which naturally would result in higher test scores at the 12th grade level. However, if you look at something like social studies, which I happen to be a teacher in, we don't enjoy that kind of tracking that, say, mathematics does. And I would like the board to be mindful of that, and also be mindful of the fact that the College Board itself does not publish any kind of prerequisites for students entering an AP course. In fact, they shun that kind of exclusive policy by any school district. And furthermore, the last comment I'd like to make, and then I'll stop. The Buffalo Business Report claimed that Hamburg has the 4th lowest expenditure per student out of 98 school districts in Western New York. I would like to thank the teachers for that statistic, because as we all know, because we all have been sitting here for many months, salaries and benefits are our largest administrative component. We've been reminded of that oftentimes. So naturally, it would follow that if your expenditures are the 4th lowest, it would follow that your expenditures for salary and benefits are also the 4th lowest. And I think the teachers and staff of Hamburg should be noted for that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. Correspondence? Issues that people want to add to, let's get a report from our student.
Alright, it's fourth quarter, and there's not much time left. AP exam. No. Not really. Yeah, bittersweet, I guess.
Bittersweet, but excited.
AP exams are going on this week and next week. I know student government elections are done, and all the officers are elected, and class office is going on right now, currently. And all sports teams are doing well. In fact, the girls lacrosse team raised over $5,000 from Alex's Lemonade Stand for childhood cancer. Our past game was against Frontier, so proud of that, I guess.
That's great.
But that's about it.
That's wonderful.
Yep.
Did you have an opportunity to go to the health fair that was at the high school?
Yeah, actually the health fair was really, really cool. It was, they had people doing taekwondo, they had like mini workouts you could do before or after school or work or whatever if you didn't have time. They had like a bunch of things, relaxation tips, and it's really cool.
I did stop by in the evening, but it was kind of obviously empty.
Yeah, yeah.
But I like the fact that with a lot of the colleges were there, and I think, I don't know, I think especially the younger kids, freshmen, sophomores that maybe don't know some of those programs are necessarily out there.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of
Yeah.
brought that to their attention, and
Mhm.
I kind of like the breadth of everything that was there.
Right, because we had the nutrition classes that like made a bunch of smoothies and stuff and kind of talked about what they did in their class for nutrition. Then the stress management obviously was a relaxation thing, and then EMT took blood pressures and stuff like that. So it was kind of cool because it covered like all of the health in their school. But,
Others? Schedule coming up, the budget. Thank you very much, Teachers Union. We have a nice card here to remind us, Tuesday, May 15th, from 7 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock in the evening. That's both the budget and the school board election.
On the fridge.
Put it on your fridge,
On the fridge, so you don't
on your
forget.
dashboard, something like that, that's right. Make sure you remind everybody else to get in there and vote. We then have the next school board meeting thereafter is Tuesday, June 12th, which will be at 6:30, beginning of the meeting, we will presume
Well,
probably.
we have the retiree reception beforehand, so we'll encourage the board to come to that, and then,
That will be held at the middle school, usually.
yep, in the cafeteria at the middle school.
The other things that people want to raise before we move on to our consensus items? Okay, consensus items, we have G, 1, 2. I want you guys to be looking and making sure that you're comfortable with us clustering them, if that'd be okay. Let's go ahead and vote on all the consensus items. Can I have a motion?
Make a motion?
That we will begin to all the consensus items under section G. A motion by Matt, second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Included in there is a nice donation in assistive technology from the Killian J. and Carolyn Schmidt Foundation. Minutes and things like that from previous budget meetings. Individual, leave of absence for Doug Delbello, some of those sorts of things.
You also mentioned the high school,
Say again?
the high school?
Go ahead.
That there was a $40,935 donation to redo the mats, the pads in the walls, and they'll, looks like they're gonna be emblazed with the Hamburg Bulldogs logo and such. I thought that was, that's a good job by the varsity age club.
And also donation of a plotter printer, to be used in the high school art courses. So those sorts of things are certainly very helpful. Okay, let's move on to the action items. We had, what, all in favor? Yep, we did. Okay, action items, we should go through
One by
each of
one.
those individually. Okay, the first action item, recommend a motion that the following resolution be approved, be it resolved for the Board of Education of Hamburg Central School District at its regular scheduled meeting of May 8, 2012, does hereby approve the settlement agreement and proposed order for the tax certiorari proceedings for 1 Buffalo Street, Inc. And can we do one?
Do them separate.
Okay, that's H1A. What's a motion for that?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Can you
Opposed?
explain this a
Barb?
little bit?
This is the information you received in your packet with
Yeah,
Barb.
but
so
just-
Barb, you got that?
Sure.
We can discuss it.
I received notification from one of our district attorneys who works on matters relating assessment challenges and things like that. They work directly with the assessors, which, with the respective towns that these matters will take place in. And they, when there are parcels that are grieved or for an assessment challenge, this is basically the outcome that you find between the attorneys for the district and for the individual who owns the parcel, with the direction of the assessor who tries to help settle the agreement on the amount that the parcel really should be valued at. So both of these resolutions will affect the assessed valuation going forward, but not for the current school year, so there is no money that has to be paid back.
This is just gonna affect us going forward as to
Yes.
what we're gonna collect in the future, but they're not looking for anything.
That is correct, yes.
And that information is relevant to the next one, to the recommended motion concerning the R Roof LLC also.
That is correct. also,
Okay,
yes.
recommended motion that the following resolution be approved. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Hamburg Central School District at its regular scheduled meeting of May 8, 2012, does hereby approve of the settlement agreement and proposed order for the tax certiorari proceedings for the R Roof 3 LLC. Can I have such a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
No, and I understand it was in our packet, but just so the public knows,
That's okay.
it's not just for my knowledge, it's everybody's knowledge.
No problem. Okay,
Did we vote on the first one? Yes.
yes, we did.
Motion, second, and I don't believe we
Is
actually,
it all in favor?
all in favor, aye.
Aye. Did opposed, and there was no, okay. I believe, I'm sorry, if we didn't, it was just done, is that correct? You guys all voted in favor? I apologize.
We did, we wanted to
did.
have first one.
Okay. H2, we have a recommended motion that warrant number 9 for the March 2012 for the general fund, federal fund, school lunch fund, trust and agency warrant, capital funding, totaling $3,163,741,051 be approved. Is that something that people would like clarification on from Barb before we move on? Comfortable with that? Can I have such a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, our next motion is that the treasurer's report for March 2012 be approved. Such a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, then we have a consultant agreement for Medicaid services. The recommended motion is that the Board of Education hereby approves the consultant agreement between the district and the Management Advisory Group Business Operations, Inc. to provide Medicaid services effective July 1, 2012. Any clarification needed on that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would like to know, and this would be for Barb, what, do we bill Medicaid every year? Generally, how much roughly do we bill out to Medicaid every year?
If this is information that we wanna be getting for another time, we can postpone this
Well,
if we want to.
right, because this is important, because if we're already receiving 50% of what we're billing out, we're not gonna do any better than that. So to pay an outside firm to assist us with this would be just a waste of money. So if we wanna wait on the vote until the next meeting so we can get this information, if we
Well,
don't have it.
really what this is we already have a contract with them that is about to expire. They assist us with many, with more than just Medicaid. They assist us with the appropriate filing and stacking of our special education students. So basically, they also help us with, there's been a lot of changes to the Medicaid, the way that it has to be reported, there's a lot of compliance that goes along with it. And so it's not really just the Medicaid piece, it's the accountability of the special ed kids for, to be reported to SED for state aid purposes. In addition to that, there is a component piece for Medicaid, which is very complex. And it is an agreement that I have discussed both with Colleen and the superintendent, and we feel as though it is an expense. It is certainly something that is worthy of making sure that everything is filed appropriately. There are there's a very large downside to misfiling or not doing something quite right. And this is something that the district historically in the past had issues with, and this group has assisted us come a real long way, making sure that we stay on top of all our filings and that we get all of our due state aid.
Okay, but we're
That's all.
talking H4 and H5 though. H5 is the special ed piece, H4 is the Medicaid piece. And really, if we're looking about, at spending this money every month, how long have we had this consultant service, for 1 year?
Well, I mean, it's all really one contract.
Oh, but they're two separate
Yes.
action items.
Because
Because they're really split out in two contracts.
Yeah, no, it's all one agreement. Their contract has changed to include the Medicaid piece, but it's all part of the same agreement. So it's been expanded a little bit in the scope of what they provide to us, because the reporting of Medicaid and all the compliance that goes along with it, all of those procedures have recently changed in the past year and are continuing to change and become more and more excessive. So this is part of now what they're providing also to us.
Right, but so we used them last year and not in prior years. Did our reimbursement increase, and what percentage did it increase with using them to justify spending the money every
I
month?
could say, I know
Can I ask the board and see if would we like to just go ahead and vote on this at the moment, and if we want to readdress this for a future time? Can I have a motion?
Well, if you'd like more information, I'd be happy to get you more
Sure.
information. Part of the issue here, it's not just the reimbursement from Medicaid, it's the compliance issues.
That's correct.
The biggest piece or the biggest risk that we face, and this is a risk management situation as well, is a Medicaid audit. If filings aren't done appropriately, they will come and take back money. So part of what this agreement and this service does is to assure that we're in compliance with the filing of all Medicaid services and receipts of money coming back to us. There is a pretty significant risk factor in misfilings for Medicaid. One of the objectives of, I believe it's the controller that takes the Medicaid piece and audits those, is to find money, to bring back, to continue the audits and to make sure that people are in compliance. If you read through, and I'd have to locate it for you, there has been the take back of monies from school districts and other entities based on, and it's not fraud, it's just
No, but
they
that's
haven't,
in
they've
every
misapplied
Right.
for the Medicaid money and they've been reimbursed more than they're giving. So it's a risk management piece, it's not just about, getting money from Medicaid, but basically ensuring that we're not gonna be having to pay back money in the future as well because we received more than we should.
No, but
We're a little
I'm
bit different than.
I'm
than
trying to
Children's
get
Hospital.
information, I'm not talking about it, but
I know.
I'm trying to get information, we've used them for a year. What percentage has this helped us, but, I mean, this is our job to do it properly. This is our administration, this is why we hire the administration to properly file, you know, the IEPs and the paperwork, so we get properly reimbursed. This is what we are paying our administration for, but my point being is, we've had the experience of having them for a year. I'm simply asking, is it worth it to extend the contract and continue spending the money? Because as we've all said lots of times, these are trying times, tough economic times. I mean, tough economic times, you know, if you look at every line in the budget, you need to cut wherever you can, because they are tough economic times. I mean, you know, you look at, and as we've said before, and as everybody up here has recognized the teachers, there are teachers that have given up $5,000 that they waited 19 years to get this year. And, you know, I think there was 12 of them. There's teachers that gave up $7,000 or $3,500. There's another 14 of them this year, so that they could, you know, keep their fellow staff and keep our class sizes low. So it is my job, and as a taxpayer of this community, to make sure that even $1,000 a month is not being
And what-
wasted, that we don't need.
And what this does is it will
So, but I'm sure
ensure,
everybody's gonna, you know,
But it
and
will
that's fine,
ensure-
you can go on and vote.
this will ensure maximum reimbursement and aid, and it will also protect us from a potential exposure of a misfiling, particularly Medicaid. So
If there is a misfiling, does this company then take responsibility for that misfiling? Or is that still on us?
well, they would take away the money from us, and we would have to then go after that company in terms of reimbursement.
So no, not really.
But again, you know, our expectation, because of their knowledge and understanding of the system, is one that it would certainly minimize the risks that we face in terms of doing that. This is, you know, quite a common service now in education.
What is their percentage of success? Do you have that information? Like, have they been successful all along, or has there been a few instances where,
I could certainly get that. We could try to research that information and get that information for you. Is there any reason why we couldn't postpone this until the June meeting, Barb?
No, I
Is-
don't.
So we could
Shall we
hold this, we
postpone
could postpone this and get more
H4 and
information for the
H5?
board? Yep.
That would be both. Okay. Shall I
Thank you.
accept the motion that we postpone H4 and H5 until the June 4th meeting, between which time we can get more information as to the financial balance of this? Is that, can I have such a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. I will go on to H6. This is the resolution to indemnify and provide legal counsel. The recommended motion that it be resolved as follows, that the Board of Education hereby resolves to provide legal counsel, defense and indemnification in accordance with the board policy, education law, and under Public Officers Law, Article 18, to Board Member Matthew Dills, in the petition of the Commissioner of Education, brought by Charles Mahoney, dated April 19th of 2012, and received by the district on April 19th of 2012. Can I have such a motion, and then we'll take a roll call vote?
So moved.
A second for the motion?
Second.
Let's have a roll call vote. We'll start with you, Holly.
I'm going to vote no, because we can't use any more money, and it's not, and this is not, has nothing to do with Mr. Dills, because I think he's serving this board, and I think that if somebody was going after him to try and sue him, I would say absolutely for his actions as a board member, but it's simply as for missing meetings, and, you know, I'm going to
Let's
just
go.
vote no.
Let's go on. Diane?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
Myself? Yes. Matt?
Yes.
You abstain? Do you?
No,
probably
yes,
need to-
because
Vote yes?
I'm not,
This is as a board member.
this is to protect myself, protect the board, and not placate to the keyboard.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Moving on. Professional development plan, recommended motion that approval is given to the professional development plan. Such a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Aye.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, retirement incentive, a recommended motion that the Board of Education of the Hamburg Central School District approve the retirement incentive memorandum of agreement between the district and the Hamburg Administrative Council, the HIC. Motion? So moved. A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The administrator's contract. Recommended motion that upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education of the Hamburg Central School District hereby approves the collective bargaining agreement and funding of the agreement between the district and the Hamburg Administrative Council. Can I have such a motion? A second?
Second.
Is this something that we need to be clarifying?
Yes, this is an agreement that we've reached with the Hamburg Administrative Council. It does call for a wage freeze in the 2012-13 school year for all administrators. It also then provides a 2% increase in each of the next 2 years, 2013-14 and 2014-15. It also reduces for future members the 105H provision as well as a vacation buyback provision. There's some other items in there as well that we have reviewed, but that is the main financial component of that agreement.
We had a motion. Can we vote on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we also have a contract for the nurses, CODAS, computer aides, microcomputer repair technicians contract. The recommended motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education of the Hamburg Central School District hereby approves the collective bargaining agreement and the funding of the agreement between the district, the registered professional school nurses, certified occupational therapy assistants, computer aides, and microcomputer repair technicians association. This contract is for the period of September 2012 to August 2013. Can I have such a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very, very much. Thank you all for attending, and thank you very much for helping us in terms of the budget.
Bye, Sue.
All your homework's done? You're going to sleep? No.
Luck on your exam.
We're not quite sure how to transition to go. We want to know more about what it does. So we should run
I know.
Good.